They're going to lead right now.
Who's at the top of that ticket, Kevin? Because if it's not Bernie, he's going to be vice president and then wait his turn?
No, it would be. Bernie's been running each time. I'm just saying who's in the lead right now. I don't think that's how it ends up.
But big crowds don't necessarily mean who's the right candidate. You know, when I started
but it drives where the ideas are going to go. It's going to drive the money for a while.
It doesn't make them the winner.
In this video, Bill Maher is joined on his show Real Time with guests Kara Swisher and Kevin McCarthy. Bill Maher, in a moment of clarity, really goes in on Bernie and AOC, as well as other issues with the Democrat Party. With that, let's watch Bill Maher destroy his own party.
Because he had to go through this F. Bashir would have a real chance. But you got to win the Democratic primary. It's not so easy, but they gamed the system. They changed it.
Who do you see on the horizon for 2028 in the Democratic primary?
Right now?
Yeah.
Bernie and AOC?
No.
They got the biggest crowds.
That doesn't matter.
It won't sustain itself, but right now they have no leader. Okay? But this is the thing the Republican Party has to understand, too. Both parties lost in the last election. Trump won, okay? And I don't know if that's going to transfer. We should have won 4 more seats in the Senate. If you looked at the last 70 races for the Senate, 69 and follow exactly the way
I think it's Moore versus Youngkin. That's where I see it.
Youngkin would be excellent.
Youngkin
it's going to go back to
adjacent, and then Vance and Jr. will fight it out for that crowd.
AOC and Bernie, and who's at the top of the ticket?
They're going to lead right now.
Who's at the top of that ticket, Kevin? Because if it's not Bernie, he's going to be vice president and then wait his turn?
No, it would be. Bernie's been running each time. I'm just saying who's in the lead right now. I don't think that's how it ends up.
But big crowds don't necessarily mean who's the right candidate. You know, when I started...
but it drives where the ideas are going to go. It's going to drive the money for a while.
It doesn't make them the winner.
It doesn't make them the winner. You'll have to wait till you'll get 2 years out, and then you'll start seeing these governors that start showing solutions. You also have to know, what is the issue going to be? Are we going to have a foreign policy issue? Are we going to have an economic issue? And who's been the best in leading in that? But right now for the Democrats, who's going to lead for the next 2 years, the money is going to... AOC outraised everybody in the House.
And it's all small donors.
It's all small donors.
Yeah.
And this is exactly where Trump was when no one gave him a chance at 17. He outraised everybody else. So that's where the base is at, right? And so what will happen, it'll move after the next midterm elections.
So Oklahoma has now required their students in schools to learn that the 2020 election was tainted by fraud.
Well, good for them, it was. So Kevin McCarthy says Bernie and AOC, and Kara Swisher says Youngkin, and for the Republicans, Vance and Don Jr. will battle it out. Don Jr. is not going to run in 2028. How out of it can she be? So as they're talking about Bernie and AOC, they said that AOC has raised more money than any other Democrat, and then Kara Swisher said, that's where the base is at. If that's indicative of where their base is, that's crazy. That means that the base is going further left as opposed to coming more to the center. I think it's a losing strategy. You know, AOC and Bernie stand for socialism. It's still a dirty enough word in this country where people aren't going to put up with that. So I guess that's a good thing for the Republicans, but the Republicans will have to find someone that people will embrace the way they did with Trump, because Kevin McCarthy saying Trump won and Republicans, Democrats lost. I tend to agree with that. However, I think his administration, Donald Trump, has surrounded himself with a lot of good people. I like J.D. Vance a lot. And actually, the real answer is no one will embrace any candidate like they ever did Trump. But for lack of a better term, to use her term, we need someone that is Trump adjacent in the Republican Party, not in the Democrat Party, so that the MAGA voters can get on board. And also probably Donald Trump's endorsement, whoever he endorses. You know, I'd say a good chunk of diehard Trump supporters will go with that person. So thank goodness that's a ways off. Let's get back to it.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you can do that one.
Look, come on, man.
From my belief, the election was very clear. Biden won that election. Okay?
That wasn't hard.
No, but I've never done it different.
I know.
And it's very clear.
Right.
Trump won the election this time and won the popular vote, which a Republican has not done in like 30 years. Okay. And so, but the basis is we've got to get out of this running the last elections. presidential election should be aspirational. It should be about ideas. It should be about where America wants to go for the next century. And if we have elections demonizing one another instead of election about the public deciding where they want to go, you can't govern once you win. And we're going to fall behind.
Last question. According to the people who study this, out of 180 countries, America has slipped down to 57, so we're middle of the pack as far as freedom of the press goes. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
Well, not good, because it's our First Amendment, and it's first, and so it should be important in this country. These assaults, these lawsuits and everything else, much of them nuisance lawsuits, are really problematic.
You mean like against 60 Minutes?
60 Minutes, which it looks like they're going to pay in some way to get that deal done. That feels like paper play all over the place. But all of them, even Facebook paying Trump that money for throwing him off the platform, or any of these things that are happening around the country. It's a real problem, and it's very chilling. It's not to say that press doesn't make mistakes, because they do all the time. But when it's done and they correct it really quickly, the New York Times just did win its case with Sarah Palin.
Yes,
a very good sign. And they made a mistake. They admitted a mistake. They apologized for a mistake. They corrected the mistake, and they got better, presumably.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
And so I think that's where we should be, but there is a real movement to chill the press through legal means.
You think so?
Look, I don't think the press has been fair in so many other places. You can look at certain things they made up. Look what the White House Correspondents' Dinner, who won the award this time? The one reporter who got up and reported that Biden wasn't mentally all there when they all hid it the entire time. So there's a reason why we have been dropping. It all started after the Pentagon Papers and others, whether people put trust in this. And you've got the internet today. You've got more people bringing stuff out. I just have a hard belief of things that I read of what had transpired in the meeting I've been in, and I do think it's pretty tainted one way. So that's why you see the pendulum swing the other way.
All the strength is on the right now. The energy is in right-wing media right now, whether it's small podcasters or bigger podcasters or small media sites and stuff.
What's interesting for the media, you think these Sunday shows are all important?
No.
More people listen to.
Did Kara Swisher just say that all the power in media is on the right? Really? Is she serious? Okay, thanks for telling us about podcasts and stuff, but the entire mainstream media has an anti-Trump, anti-conservative narrative. So Kevin says that Biden won the election in 2020. I guess that's one of the reasons people don't like him. My stance is always, I don't know who won the election in 2020. The 81 million votes is very suspect. There are countless videos and testimonies of voter fraud going on all over the country during that election. There are too many suspicious things for anyone to say, yes, I know. But unless you were involved in rigging the election, I also don't think we know 100% that it was rigged. Although, as you can imagine, that's the way I lean. The main thing being the 81 million votes. It just doesn't make sense. And they're freaking out about freedom of the press. How do we not have freedom of the press here? You can report on whatever you want. And Kara Swisher's like, the media makes mistakes. Yeah, no one's suing people over mistakes. You can't just slander someone endlessly for 10 years and not expect trouble. Facebook kicked them off. 60 Minutes intentionally edited their segment with Kamala Harris to make her look better because she was an absolute mess. And, they didn't talk about George Stephanopoulos calling Donald Trump a grapist about 20 times in one segment and getting sued and losing over that. You can't just flat out lie about people, especially when you know that you're telling a lie. Anyway, let's wrap it up.
Joe Rogan on a podcast, or in your
although
podcast,
he's slipping to Midas, to the Midas group, which is great,
which is good, which is the way it should be. Let people gather whatever information they can out there, and you should be able to challenge it.
There
but
still
the First
should
Amendment
be
are right.
Standards of facts that are very clear,
but it's also newspapers today can't afford to do it. You've got to have your news so fast and so rapidly, so you don't have the editors, you don't have the ability to check. So people should be able to question what goes on.
Well, they did put somebody in the press room from social media. I read this week.
Tim Pool, or one of them.
One of them, and these are very young people, and one of them had once asked the question, has the moon disappeared?
Has it?
Now, we've had eclipse before.
Yeah. So. No, those are just cheerleaders. Those are cheerleaders, and it's kind of.
I know.
I have applied to be in that room, and Carolyn Levitt in her Tracy Flickness has not allowed me to be there.
Tracy Flickness. All right, thank you.
I'd like to
Thank you.
Caroline Leavitt is 8 trillion times the woman that you are, Kara Swisher. But we want to hear from you. What do you guys think about this conversation about the future of the Democrat Party and the 2020 election? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.